This is the regular meeting of the Metropolitan Council, Wednesday, October 26th, 2022. I'm Charlie Zelli, Chair. Welcome, everyone, and good afternoon. The first item of business is the agenda, which, unless there are any objections, we will assume it is acceptable. Let's move on to approval of the minutes, which are sent out in advance. These are the minutes from our meeting on October 12th. Is there a motion and a second to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, thank you. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Minutes are approved. Now we are at the point of the agenda to invite members of the public who want to address the council on matters that are not on the agenda. And we have several people who have signed up. And I want to remind you, I have 3 minutes, but we'll be welcome first Peter Hendricks, who registered in advance. So Peter, please come forward and welcome.
Thank you and good afternoon. My name is Peter Hendricks. I am a resident of District 4 in St. Paul. Members and Chair Zelli, my topic today is Metro Transit Student Bus Pass Equity. As you may have heard, the University of Minnesota and the Metro Transit has a new program for $45 a semester. Students can ride Metro Transit, which is great. St. Paul Public Schools has a contract with Metro Transit that commenced in 2019. And it's good for 4 years. And the rate is $97 per quarter for a student pass. That equates to $388. So we have $90 for students at the U, $388 for students in St. Paul Public Schools, as well as Minneapolis Public Schools. There's an issue, and the issue needs to be corrected. There needs to be equity across the board. The contract with the U, which I have made a public data request for, but I haven't received it yet, appears to rely on usage. And it doesn't appear that the transit pass with St. Paul Public Schools has any rate differential or equalization based on usage. And that needs to change. For those of you that were around in fall of 2019, I actually uncovered that you had a preferential rate with Minneapolis Public Schools, and that has been corrected. And I thank you as a resident of St. Paul and a parent of a child at Central High School, because not all of the students in St. Paul Public Schools are actually using the bus as much as they probably should be, nor should Metro Transit be billing the taxpayers and St. Paul Public Schools, which is strapped for money, at $388 a year per student. So please consider making a change when you either now or when you negotiate the new contract in 2024. And I'll be raising this issue with Superintendent Gothard and members of the St. Paul Public School Board. I've emailed some of you. I'm happy to reach out and have discussions. I also had Senator Cohen introduce a bill right before the pandemic in March of 2020, where there has to be equity, at least for student bus passes for public schools. So please consider this an important issue. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, on our sign-up sheet, we have 3 additional folks. And first up is Steve Carter, rides to Champlain. Did I get that correct?
Carlton, a typical Minnesota name.
Carlton, sorry, I'm not a good reader here.
I'm going to try to be
Steve
quick
Carlton.
here. I want to talk to you and complain about a practice of 2 of your transit services, Transit Link and Metro Mobility, a practice that has isolated elderly parents from their children who use Metro Mobility, stopping visits similar to when the state kept families apart during the dark days of COVID. The family involved here was Hispanic to the degree that might be relevant. It shouldn't happen to any family. On the face of it, this practice is an easy fix. I'm asking the Metro Council to work with these two transportation services that you provide to fix this egregious aspect. Beyond that, I recognize that we are in the midst of a great shortage of operators, of drivers. There are two practices I want to raise. When the client seeking to visit her 92-year-old mother, who recently moved to Champlin, which is not as far as Anoka, but is in Anoka County, booked rides with Metro Mobility to Champlin, for a while she got the rides. We didn't know there was a problem. The last time she booked this ride, this last Sunday, she got a call canceling it and was told, "We have the right to deny you a ride if we don't have drivers." In fact, for many weeks, the client booked rides to Champlin, told her mother she was coming, only to receive that call the night before saying the ride was canceled. After we began to complain about this practice of ride cancellation, and I don't want to make it too formal, and questions about this, the client who gets to work using Metro Mobility began to be told that there would be no return ride from her job late in the evening. Effectively, she was told she would get no ride to work. First, I want to get to the fix of Champlin. When the client sought a ride to Hastings for a serious medical appointment, similar situation, consulting with TransitLink people, we came up with a fix. She could get a Metro ride to Eagan, be picked up there by TransitLink to her medical appointment, then brought back to Eagan from Hastings, where she would meet a Metro Mobility ride to bring her home in downtown St. Paul. This same practice should work to get to Champlin. We book Metro to Anoka County and get picked up in Anoka County by TransitLink and get to Champlin and so forth. The problem is, when I called TransitLink, the reservationist said, yes, that made sense. However, she refused to do it because the ride originated in downtown St. Paul. I feel this must be wrong. She went on to say that there was city bus service the client must ride from downtown St. Paul all the way out to Anoka and back. I explained to her the reason the client has Metro Mobility is because she can't make those bus rides on her own for mobility reasons. I believe this violates Title VI because it is a health-based service. This is a fundamental right which can't be taken away in this unjustified and arbitrary way. I ask that the council immediately fix this by instructing TransitLink to pick up people in Anoka County, even if they live in St. Paul, but they have got to ride out to Anoka County and bring them to Champlin just as if the client lived in Anoka County. Thank you. I was kind of racing to hit the 3 minutes,
No
so
problem.
that's why I
You're
was
fine, sorry.
a little bit tense. Any questions?
Oh.
No? Okay, so can I submit this?
Sure.
For the record, and maybe some written comments, more detail?
Sure, you're welcome to submit those.
Thank you very much. I didn't bring this, but can I bring it to the office?
Sure,
Thank you, folks.
thank you. All right, next up, we have Benjamin Keeman.
Yeah, sorry, I do apologise. I misunderstood the purpose of the sheet, so I have nothing to add to the item that's already on the agenda.
Okay. All right, and now, finally, we have Mashad Mado.
I think it's Chair Zelli and council members, I think that's my name, Mike Madio.
Michael Madio.
And I follow my predecessors claiming the same thing. I apologize for the same reason I signed up for only for attendance purposes, not knowing that it was for presentation. So
Okay, no comment is necessary. That's just fine. Thank you. Well, we're thrilled to see names and people who are either here or making comments. Well, that takes us to our business items, and the first is the Metropolitan Council's public comment draft of the 2023 Unified Budget. And for this, we will require a roll call. Councilmember Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is business item 2022-279, adopting the public comment draft of the 2023 Unified Budget. This item requests that the council adopt the proposed 2023 Unified Budget for the purpose of gathering public comment. The property tax levies are consistent with those approved in August. Changes to the operating budget from the adopted August preliminary budget were presented and discussed at the council's meeting on October 12th. The capital program is up to date with amendments approved by the council in 2022, includes planned and authorized projects through 2028, and is consistent with the presentation made to the council again on October 12th. Budget changes necessitated by new information and economic factors, including an update to the MVEST forecast, will occur prior to final adoption in December. Public comment for the record will be accepted via phone, mail, or email until 5 p.m. on December 14th. The public will also be allowed to provide comment at 6 p.m. during the council's meeting on December 14th. Just making sure too that everybody's received this, it's out on the table, and I assume it will be online after tonight's meeting if it's not already up. So, Mr. Chair and council members, I move that the Metropolitan Council adopt the public comment draft of the 2023 unified budget.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilmember. And for this, I'm going to ask Bridget to call the roll.
Johnson,
Aye.
Chambliss,
Aye.
Carter,
Aye.
Cummings,
Aye.
Pacheco,
Aye.
Zelli,
Aye.
Zarin,
Aye.
Lindstrom,
Aye.
Bento,
Aye.
Sterner,
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you. Next on the agenda is approval of the consent agenda. Is there a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Thank you. Thank you. Any discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carried. Next, we'll hear from the standing committees. The Community Development Committee has reports on the consent agenda, but on to the Environment Committee. Councilmember Lindstrom.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. Today we have business item 2022-266, and this requests that the council authorize the regional administrator to negotiate and execute contract 21P015 with Adolphson and Peterson Construction to design and build the Metropolitan Wastewater Treatment Plant Services Building and Site Improvements Project in an amount not to exceed $47,126,000. The Metro Service Building will be an expansion of the analytical laboratory. The main features will include 18,000 square feet remodel to the laboratory, upgrades to the facility, and expansion of storage, 27,000 square feet of office space for water resources, industrial waste and pollution prevention, and construction services staff, and a small controlled guard station, and indoor parking for up to 10 vehicles. Solicitation was captured in 2 steps. Step 1 involved a request for qualification from 3 design-build firms: Adolphson and Peterson Construction, Knudsen Construction Services, and Kraus Anderson Construction. Step 2 included a request for proposal that was issued to this short list of firms. On April 26, procurement facilitated a public pre-proposal meeting that outlined the solicitation requirements, discussed project specs, and responded to plan holder inquiries. The evaluation panel, made up of MCES staff and stakeholders, reached consensus that the proposal submitted by Adolphson and Peterson Construction is advantageous to the council. Therefore, Mr. Chair and members of the council, I move that the council authorize the regional administrator to negotiate and execute contract 21P015 with Adolphson and Peterson Construction to design and build the Metropolitan Wastewater Treatment Plant Services Building and Site Improvements Project in an amount not to exceed $47,126,000.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion, questions? All right, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that motion carried. The Management Committee has reports on the consent agenda. Next up is the Transportation Committee. Councilmember Barber.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, council members, business item number 2022-234 is regarding approval of the changes to the council's Title VI disparate impact and disproportionate business burden policy. The current policy, which was adopted in 2013, allows for a 20% threshold in difference for BIPOC and/or low-income populations. Currently, if benefits are being provided to BIPOC or low-income populations at a rate less than 80% than the benefits provided to white or non-low-income populations, or if adverse effects are being borne by whites or non-low-income populations at a rate less than 80% than the adverse effects being borne by BIPOC or low-income populations, there could be evidence of either disparate impact or disproportionate burden. The new policy, in line with more equitable and direct language used by the council, minority is replaced with BIPOC and non-minority is replaced with white. Additionally, the threshold has been reduced to a 10% difference. Therefore, if the effects borne by the BIPOC population, both adverse and beneficial, are not within the 10% of the effects borne by the white population, then the proposed change would pose a potential disparate impact. If the effects of a major service change borne by those of low income, both adverse and beneficial, are not within 10% of the effects borne by those not of low income, then the proposed change would pose a potential disproportionate burden. The change is based on a desire to align with the enhanced agency transit equity practices, data analysis techniques, and trends across peer transit agencies. Therefore, Mr. Chair, I move that the Metropolitan Council shall approve the DIDB policy update, including the new threshold.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair, just one quick question?
Yes.
If I may. I see that it was going to go before the Equity Advisory Committee, and it says next Tuesday in the, just the quick analysis. Was that yesterday or?
I believe that was yesterday.
Okay, and then seeing nothing from them, I'm assuming there were no additional comments on this
Defer
item.
to Councilmember Sterner or one of the members of the Equity Advisory Committee.
I mean, I think we had a report on it. Yesterday was just getting ready for the next meeting, so we didn't have the full meeting yesterday on that.
Right, I just was making sure if there were any other comments.
Councilmember Chambliss.
Yes, thank you, Chair. And I just had a comment on the alternate analysis that was, I had a question on the analysis that was done for transportation disparate impact, and whether or not the analysis included details on where people intend to go, and not just where they have been in terms of needs and demand. And secondly, where people travel for services and social purposes, I think can be very important to study in determining what the needs are. What I did mention in one of our transportation committee meetings was that oftentimes there are neighborhood groups that travel to other parts of the city where they may have more services, such as cultural services for particular BIPOC communities. And so if we do our analysis based on where they live, that may not be correct, because we want to really look at the usage and the needs and the travel patterns. So I did receive feedback that would be looked into, and I just wanted to mention that.
I appreciate your giving us that insight, and thank you for following up. Any additional questions or comments? All right, we have a motion that's been seconded, so all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carried. Councilmember Barber.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, council members, business item number 2022-235 is regarding the approval of the 2023 through 2025 Title VI program. The 2023 through 25 Title VI program is a triennial updated program to comply with FTA funding requirements under Title VI of the 1964 Civil Rights Act that bars discrimination on race, class, or national origin in the provision of transit programs and services. The updated program includes our language assistance plan that details how we support riders who speak languages other than English. The updated program also includes documentation of all required equity analyses for all major service change per the Council's major service change policy, which we just adopted. Therefore, Mr. Chair, I move that the Metropolitan Council shall approve the 2023 through 2025 Title VI program.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any comments, questions, discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carried. Councilmember Barber.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, council members, business item number 2022-265 is the proposed interagency contract agreement with MnDOT for the purchase of bulk salt. This motion is seeking approval of renewing a recently expired contract with MnDOT for the procurement of bulk salt. The salt is purchased through the purchasing powers of the state of Minnesota, benefiting from MnDOT's general procurement efforts. It allows for access to MnDOT storage yards, which are located throughout the Twin Cities, and also negates the need for Metro Transit to build storage facilities and handle bulk materials. It also allows for quick access for Metro Transit maintenance staff for the use of these materials. Therefore, Mr. Chair, I move that the Metropolitan Council authorize the regional administrator to execute an agreement, 21I-039, with the Minnesota Department of Transportation for the purpose of supplying Metro Transit with bulk salt for system use for an amount not to exceed $611,000.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any comments? I have to say I know more than any grown man should know about salt and snow and ice, and this is a good deal. MnDOT gets salt from barges and different ways in bulk, so it's a good savings for my council. All right, no other comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that motion carried. Councilmember Barber.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, council members, business item number 2022-76 is a same-week item regarding the procurement of pylons for the Metro B line stations. Pylons are a signature feature of bus rapid transit stations on the Metro system. They display real-time transit information, provide video surveillance, and contribute to the recognizable branding of our region's BRT stations. This purchase will make use of the council's existing pylon contract to obtain the pylons needed for all B-line stations, which will be constructed in 2023 and 2024. The contract was competitively procured and executed in 2021. Similar to how council procures buses, the contract is structured with an initial base order plus options to purchase more pylons within a 5-year period. This purchase will be able to take advantage of previously negotiated unit pricing with the vendor, the same unit prices used for the D line. There was some discussion at Transportation Committee about DBE participation in the contract. OAO thoroughly reviewed the original pylon procurement for DBE opportunities, and based on their research and analysis, no DBE goal was set on the original contract. When a new pylon contract is procured at the end of this contract's 5-year term, OAO will conduct another thorough review to determine if a DBE goal is feasible at that time. Additionally, the pylons for the B line will be installed by the B line construction contractors, which are expected to have DBE participation. Therefore, Mr. Chair, I move that the council authorize the regional administrator to exercise an option on existing contract 19P385A with ASC Acquisition Company, DBE Albrecht Sign Company, for the fabrication and delivery of 47 pylon signs and 1 suspended horizontal sign for installation on the Metro B-Line project in an amount not to exceed $1,477,770.
Great, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion, questions? Councilmember Barber.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just wanted to comment, this was one of several B-line items that were before the Transportation Committee the other night, which really tells you we're getting off in earnest and work on the B-line. And I think the B-line is such a critical one of our ABRTs because it connects so many of our different lines. So it's really the one that kind of pulls everything together. So it's very exciting to be kicking off a lot of this work.
Very exciting. Thank you. Councilmember Sterner.
Yeah, I just want to note that this is a union shop and it's a local, it's in our 7-county district of region, and so it's a local small business, so it does, take some of the things that we look for in when we do bids.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Any other comments? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carried. Just a couple of notes, late breaking news. There was a question about whether the Title 9 was presented to the EAC. Title 11, I'm sorry. Title 6. Title 6. Plan of domain? Okay. Title 6. It was presented to the EAC on October 18th. So that was a time when both Councilmember Lee and Councilmember Gonzalez were present for that. So they did have an opportunity to have that conversation. So thank you for raising that question, Councilmember Johnson. Does any other council member have anything that they'd like to report? All right, hearing none. Regional Administrator is being represented by Deputy Regional Administrator. Do you have any reports?
No, sir, nothing to report today.
Okay, all right. The General Counsel, Ann?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No report.
Well, enjoy this beautiful sunny afternoon. We've conducted our business, and I see no other further business, so this meeting's adjourned.